Awesome. Yeah. Hello, everyone. Welcome to creating multiplayer Minecraft games using DiamondFire. My name is Jeremy. I am the creator of DiamondFire. Yeah, so today is going to be, I think, a bit more of a demo than a workshop, just to sort of be inclusive here, because I know many of people probably don't have Minecraft. Or may not be as familiar with Minecraft, and we could definitely spend a whole hour just teaching you how to navigate Minecraft and things like that. Yeah, so I'm going to just kind of show some things here on DiamondFire. If you want to follow along, if you do have Minecraft Java Edition, the latest version, then you can, if you're familiar with how to connect to multiplayer servers and things like that, then you can follow along at the server address mcdiamondfire.com, which I have put here in the chat. All right. So yeah, I guess I'll just kind of get started here. We're going to first just take a quick look at doing some coding in DiamondFire, and then time permitting, we're going to break down a bit how this sphere that you're seeing on the screen can work. Yes, it is for 1.16. Yeah, so depending on the time, I'll break down how the sphere was made. After we get through, I'm going to create a simple game here, and hopefully y'all will be able to follow along and get a sense of how to make games with DiamondFire. So I'm going to get started here. I'm going to go to this test game that I built. And as you can see, there is nothing on it. I have a blank plot at the moment. When you make a game on DiamondFire, you have a empty plot of land to work with that has this coding area and then this building area. There's some lighting glitches at the moment. I don't know why. Let's just fix those. So to start off with, I'm going to basically make a game where the players are in sort of an arena. I guess this will just kind of be our arena here. And they will be fighting off monsters and trying to survive. Like, I don't know, skeletons, zombies, things like that. So that should be a good time. So first and foremost, the game will not be very fun if we send the player in completely defenseless with no items. So we're going to start by giving them some items when they join the game. So the first thing we're going to do is in our coding area, you can see in our inventory, we have all of these blocks that are just like regular Minecraft blocks, but as you can see, these have special properties to perform various programming actions. So here we have the player event block, which we use to detect user input when a player does something, when a player like right clicks, left clicks, joins the game, dies, all sorts of things like that. So we're going to start by just placing one of these in the coding section of our game. And so here we go. We got this block that popped up. Also, it popped up with a sign. We can right click this sign and we can see there's some categories of events to choose from. We'll go to plot and server events because that's where the player join game event is. So this is kind of like our start flag almost. This is what we will run when a player joins our game. So here we are, right? We can now detect when the player joins the game, and the code flow here basically is going to start with this block and it's going to move left to right. So after that, we're going to take this block here, the player action block, this cobblestone, which is what we use to perform actions on players. And there are a ton of these for, you know, teleporting people, launching them into the air, healing them, sending them chat messages, all sorts of wonderful things. Just there's a lot of things that you can do with Minecraft. We've really tried to, with DiamondFire, sort of, you know, expose as much of kind of the, you know, interface of Minecraft as possible to be manipulated by players. So I'm going to place one of these right next to the join event. If you're wondering what the stone block here is for, as you can see, there's a stone block after each code block here. These are sort of like, you can think of them as, semicolons. It's just kind of a delimiter, but the main purpose they serve is that if you click on these, if you hold the sneak button and click on these, you can move code down so that you can insert code, and then it snaps back if you break the blocks. So that's what those are for. So we're going to start, we're going to give them some items. We're going to click this sign. We're going to go to item management. And then we are going to give them some items. So as you can see, all of these things here have various sorts of bits of documentation just describing what all of the different actions do. So the give items, it'll give the player all of the items that are in this chest above the block. So how we sort of do parameters in DiamondFire is using chests above the code blocks. So basically all of the inputs to any kind of Minecraft functions that you are doing will go in this chest in the form of items. So with give items, it's just any items you want. So we're going to give them, let's say we give them like an iron sword or something. That'll be pretty helpful for getting rid of the mobs. So we just take that and we put it in the chest. And so if we play our game just to kind of test here, you can see, I went fast there actually. You type the /play command to play your game. And so here we are. You can see we have our sword, very nice. Now we can return to coding mode with /code. You can also do /dev. Every plot, probably a good time to mention. So every plot has sort of like 3 modes, right? You can be in coding mode. You can be in playing mode where you're playing the game. And then you can also be in building mode. And so we'll kind of go to building mode next here and maybe build some stuff for our arena. So building mode just is where you can build whatever you want. This is pretty standard vanilla Minecraft kind of stuff. So we're going to build maybe just like a big like button or something. Let's see, I don't know, crimson planks, and we'll put like a stone button on top of this block here. So here we go. We have our plot and we have our button. Now let's go back to our coding mode here. And let's say we want to encourage the player to press the button when they join the plot. So we're going to place another block here just to kind of continue our coding flow here. So after we give them items, we are going to send them a message in the chat window. So how we do that, we go to the communication category, and then we will send a chat message to the player. So you can see here that this in the chest uses a text parameter. So how do we do things like text? We can put items in the chest, but how are we going to do things like numbers and text? And the answer is that it's essentially still items. We go to this thing here. This is our values menu, which lets us get parameters of different types. So if we right click while holding this item, we get this nice menu of various value items. And so here's the book here that we can use to define text parameters. And we can also do numbers, we can do locations, we can do sound effects, particle effects, potion effects, and then there's some even more interesting things with dynamic variables and values pulled from the game and things like that. So we're going to grab just a text item out of this menu. And then what we're going to do is we're going to hold this text, and how we set the message is we just hold this item and we type it into chat. That simple. So we're going to say, welcome to the mob arena. Press the totally not suspicious button. So now we're going to put this in the chest, just like we did with the iron sword in the give items block. And when we play the game, you can see that we got our message in the chat window. So right now the button doesn't do anything. So let's make the button do something. So we want to spawn our mobs here, right? So we're going to use a new event to detect when they press the button. And this will be the right click event. So we're going to place another player event block on kind of a new line here. And we will go to click events, and we will choose the right click event. So now we want to detect if they right clicked on the button specifically. And so we're going to need to place a conditional block to make this happen. So how we do conditions here, this is the if player block where we can execute code if the player meets some condition. So we will place one of those. So as you can see, we have our if block. It looks a little different from the event and action blocks. You'll notice that we have these piston blocks. And this represents the start and end, basically, of the if statement. They're the brackets, essentially. And so everything, all the blocks that are inside, in between these piston blocks, like I could place, a couple player actions, everything inside these pistons will be run only if the condition from the if player block is true. So let's set our condition. We want to detect if they are pressing the button by if they're right clicking and they are looking at the button. So we're going to use locational conditions because that specifies if they're looking at a specific location, and we will use the is looking at block. Now you can see there are some options here in terms of our parameters. We can check if they're looking at a specific location, like coordinate point in the world, but we can also just check if they're looking at a certain kind of block, like if they're looking at grass, or in this case, a stone button. So we're going to do that. We're going to grab a stone button, just like the one we built in the world. We're going to put that in the chest. And now this condition will be true when the player right clicks and is looking at a stone button. All right. The next part is we're going to spawn the mobs when they press the button. We're going to spawn maybe a zombie. So we're going to grab here the game action block, which allows you to perform actions that are not on players or related to players specifically. So for example, if you wanted to change some blocks in the world, or you want to spawn some entities such as zombies, sheep, whatever, creating explosions, things like that, that's all going to be game actions because they're not specific to any given player. So we're going to put one of these in between these pistons here, so it will be run when the player is looking at the button. And we will go to the entity spawning category where we can spawn all kinds of entities. And we will do spawn mob. Now, as you can see, we have a lot of options for spawning mobs, but we're just going to focus on just a few here. So this allows us to spawn a mob somewhere in the world at a certain location. So Minecraft veterans will know. Normally you spawn mobs using spawn egg items. You hold these items, you right click somewhere in the world to spawn a mob. To spawn them using code, you just got to put one of these spawn eggs in the chest. So I am going to grab a zombie spawn egg and I'm going to put it in this chest. Now this isn't going to work on its own because we have not yet told the code where we want to spawn this mob. It could be anywhere, right? So we're going to go back to that values item where we got the text before to send the message to the player at the beginning. And we're going to grab a location item. And as you can see, as it explains here, we will hold this item and we can right click to set it to our current location. We can also left click, set it to the location of a block. And there's a few other functions as well. So we're going to stand maybe right about here. And we're going to hold this paper item and we're going to right click. And it made a little noise. It also, it's a little tough to see, but it also briefly highlights our location. If you click a block, it will highlight the block as well. So here we are, we set it, and as you can see, it is now written down the coordinates of the location of where we're standing. So as you can see, it has X, Y, Z, pitch, and yaw, so it also stores our rotation, so the mobs will spawn facing this direction. So now we're going to go back to our code here, and we just drop this item right in the chest. And now the mobs will spawn when I press the button. So here we are, press the totally not suspicious button. So I right click the button. And as you can see, we have mobs. So yeah, that's kind of the basics of our game. The mobs, as you can see, are on fire because it is the daytime. We can do a little fix for that by giving them a helmet. Then they will not burn in the daylight. So we're going to give them a little bit of armor here. We're going to give them the iron helmet. And we will put this in the chest like so in this particular slot. The bottom row for the spawn mob action defines all of the gear that the mob spawns with. So if I wanted them to be holding, I don't know, an apple or something, I'd put that in this chest, and then this would be the helmet, chest plate, leggings, boots, and so on. So if I play that here, you can see that now they spawn with apples. So they're going to try to just hit me with apples until I die. And then they also have helmets, which will stop them from burning. So yeah, so that's some good stuff. The sword feels kind of inefficient for killing these zombies. If there's a lot of them, you know, going to be overwhelmed pretty quickly. So let's give ourselves an extra ability here. We're going to give ourselves a special ability that definitely does not exist in normal Minecraft. We're going to create a magic wand of sorts. So we're going to do another click event. Let's do the left click event because I think that would be nice. Now if we left click with the magic wand, we're going to launch fireballs. We want to be able to launch fireballs. So first we got to give ourselves the magic wand. And so I'm going to put in the give items block, I'm going to give ourselves a stick. So that way the player will have both the sword and this stick, which will be the magic wand. But as you can see, it just looks like a stick right now. So let's call it magic wand. So we can do item name magic wand. Now it has the name magic wand. We can even actually add colors to this by using some little codes here. So and C happens to make text red. So as you can see, we now have a red magic wand here. So we're going to put, we're actually going to copy this real quick, and we're going to put it in the chest here. You can copy items using the pick block key in Minecraft. When you're in creative mode, typically that uses the middle mouse button. So now we're going to make the left click. When we left click with the magic wand, we're going to launch some fireballs. So we're going to once again use our if player condition block. And we're going to place this right here on the left click event. And we are going to change this one to item conditions. And we want to see if they are holding the magic wand item. So we will do the is holding condition. And we will put a magic wand in the chest. So now when we left click with the magic wand, it will run whatever is inside of these pistons. And inside the pistons, we want to launch fireballs, and that is nice and easy to do. That's a player action. So we will put a player action here. We're going to right click the sign. And this is a world action because it is firing projectiles. And as you can see, the first one here is the launch projectile action, which will make the player launch a projectile from their location. So this is great, but there's one more thing we have to do, and that is to say what kind of projectile do we want to launch? Do we want it to be a snowball, an arrow, a fireball. I think I said it would be a fireball earlier, so let's do that. We will take a fire charge, and we will put that in the chest. And this would also work with an arrow, a snowball, a wither skull, pretty much any projectile that is in Minecraft. So now, if we left click with our magic wand, as you can see, we can launch fireballs. So this is going to make it much easier to deal with the zombies. So yeah, as you can see, they don't stand a chance now that I have the magic wand. So let's fix that. Let's make the mobs a little bit better, a little bit stronger when they spawn. And how we're going to do that is you'll notice when we set this action to spawn mob, you'll notice that this large text block here on this item, there's a lot of parameters that we have in addition to the required spawn egg and location. We can also specify health for the mob, as well as potion effects. So for anyone who doesn't know, you can brew potions in Minecraft that give you potion effects such as speed, fire resistance, some other things like that. And so we're going to give the mobs a little bit more health here. So we are going to actually take a number item, and we are going to type in a number to give them more health. Now, zombies typically spawn with 20 health. We're going to spawn them with 30. And we put that in the chest just like that. And then finally, we're also going to use a potion effect item. So normally in Minecraft, you have, I can show this, all these different kind of potions for doing various things, applying different effects to players. You can like drink these, it'll give you speed, good stuff like that. Typically, the potions have very specific durations, like either 3 minutes or 8 minutes. And they have an amplifier usually of either 1 or 2. So speed 2 is stronger than speed 1. Like speed 1 will give you like a 20% speed increase, speed 2 is 40%. You can actually go all the way to 255 with the amplifier, though I wouldn't really recommend that because usually that's too much. You can also do negative amplifiers, which will do the opposite. So if I did like speed -2, it would be a slowness effect, although there is a slowness effect already, so there's not a whole lot of point to doing that. So I'm going to give the mobs speed. I'm going to make them fast. So we're going to find, here we go, that's speed. We click on this, and now you can see it says potion effect speed. Duration 30 seconds. I want them to have it for much longer than 30 seconds. I'm going to say 5 minutes. So I'm going to type 5 minutes here into the chat while I'm holding this item. And when I press enter, there was a little sound there. I don't think my sound's coming through, but now you can see the duration is 5 minutes. The amplifier is 1 by default. Let's make that stronger. Let's make that 3. So now we can open this chest again, and we're going to just drop this potion effect item in there like so. And then you can see that when we spawn these mobs, that they are much faster. I think they can almost catch up to me at walking speed with speed 3. And you can also see that it is taking them a much longer time to die because they have more health now. All right, so I got all this rotten flesh. I got a random iron helmet from one of them. I don't really want to get these random rotten flesh and drops. So we're going to make it so that when we spawn these mobs, they're not going to drop anything. And so how we're going to do that is using an entity action. So just like the player actions are used to perform actions on players, we can use entity actions to perform actions on entities, such as mobs like zombies, or even like projectiles like fireballs. So we're going to place this entity action just after the game action block. And then we are going to go to, I believe it is under settings. and we will do the set death drops enabled action, which you click on. And then we can go into the chest here, and you can see there's already an item that is in here, which is the tag has death drops, and it's currently enable. We're just going to click this one time, and it will go to disable. As you can see, it just alternates as we click on it. So we're going to make sure disable is highlighted so that it is disabling drops. And then when we play the game, if we spawn a bunch of mobs here, you should see that we do not get any drops, any rotten flesh or helmets or anything like that. Yep, so you can see nothing on the ground. So now we have a much cleaner game here. I see a question here in the chat. Is there a way to join a world someone is already in? So I'm going to take a brief detour to mention that, because that is one of the really cool parts of DiamondFire, is that you can see all of the games that everyone else has built on the server. So if you click on, if you're at spawn here, I just kind of didn't mention that at all, actually. So I just left my game and returned to spawn by typing /leave. You can also do /spawn, and it will send you back to a lobby where you have this game menu item. And if you open this up, you can see there's a lot of different categories of games that people have made, as well as trending games, like what's currently popular. So you can just kind of look for games here. There's also a search function if you want to search for a game, like a specific game or a game made by somebody that you know. You could search their name, and you can see all their games and you can join them. So this is a fun time. I'm going to return to my testing game here. So now we've made it so that the zombies aren't dropping anything, which is good. There's no cluttering of rotten flesh, but it's kind of less satisfying to kill them now. So we're going to fix it. We're going to add a little bit more fanfare when we successfully slay the zombies. So we're going to launch a firework from their location when they die. First part of doing that is we have to detect when the mobs die. So we're going to use an entity event for that, which detects when something happens to an entity. So we're going to place one of these in a new line like so. And we are going to set this to the entity death event. This says it executes code when an entity dies by natural causes. That's a typo. This is just any kind of death cause will trigger this event. Next, we are going to use a game action, because you'll recall that the game action is used for spawning entities and other non-player or entity-related actions. So we're going to place one of these, and we're going to go to entity spawning, and we're going to choose the launch firework action, which will launch a firework at a certain location. So the first thing we need to do here is we need to put in a firework. You have to make these in Minecraft, and it's like a little bit annoying. So I'm going to just very quickly grab the ingredients that are required for that. Let's make it a blue firework. Why not? And then now I'm actually going to open a crafting menu by typing /craft. Typically in Minecraft, you would place down a crafting table and open it, but this is just a little shortcut that opens one for you. So we'll just make ourselves a fireworks star. Again, this is all stuff that you probably know if you've played a lot of Minecraft. So now we have a firework that will be blue. So we will just put that in this chest there. And then we need to tell the game where to spawn the firework. Now, when we spawned the mob, you'll remember we used a location item that had a specific set of coordinates written on it. But for this, we want to spawn it wherever the entity died. And that varies, right? That can be different every time. And so what we're going to use is this game value variable. So we're going to grab one of these. And you can see there's various different values sort of that we can grab from the game. And one of these, one type, I should say, of value we can get is location values. So when I click on this, you can see we have all sorts of location-related values. So we're going to get the target's location. Very simple. Now, once we do this, it will prompt us for the target. So it's like, all right, we want someone's location, but whose location do we want? There's a lot of options here, but we're going to simply go with the default target, which would be the entity that died in this case. That's really the only target that's involved in this one. So now I have this, the location attribute of the default target. And if I put this in the chest, it will now use that location to spawn the firework. So I'm going to once again do /play and join the game here. I'm going to spawn just one of these zombies. And when I kill it, it launches a firework. Oh, somebody joined my game. So yes, so here we go. We can just watch them actually play the game. Awesome. So now it's fun. Now the game's a bit more fun. Let's see what we can do. Currently, the mobs only spawn if we press the button. Let's make them spawn on a timer as well. So this is going to be definitely a little bit more complicated. We're going to be using some of the other blocks here to accomplish this. So the way we do this is first, since we want to spawn the mob and also disable the drops, when we press the button, but also on a timer, we want to make a function so that we don't have to repeat ourselves with this code. So I am going to break these blocks for now. And I'm going to make a function. And then I am going to put these blocks here again. And we have all of our items still, so I will put these here. And then as well, the disable drops action. So we will go to settings, set drops enabled, and disable. So the function here doesn't have a name yet. You can see we click this, and it tells us to right-click the sign while holding a text item to name our function. So we're going to grab one of those text items again, and we're going to name this function, let's just name it spawn zombie. And now, when we want to call this function, we use the call function block. And we're going to place one of these down. And when we click on the call function block, it will come up with a menu of all of the functions that we have defined for our game. So we have, as you can see, the spawn zombie function. So we will left click to choose that function. Now the sign says spawn zombie. And then, how do we join this plot? So this plot is on like a testing environment at the moment, so it's not on the live server, this specific one, but you can definitely check out some of the other games that are live. Another thing we can do is if we right-click on this icon here, it'll transport us to the function. So this is pretty helpful if you have a lot of functions and you forgot where they are. Particularly also, you'll notice we have, a fairly limited amount of space here. You can actually also build vertically by doing like plot code space, and you can see it generates a whole layer of glass here that we can build on, and you can just keep making new layers for your code up and up. You can see like in the background, here's someone with like just a ton of layers of coding blocks. So definitely when you're making more complicated projects, you'll be using some more space there. So now we have this function that we can call when we press the button. Let's just convince ourselves that this works. You can see our mobs still spawn. Everything still works. That is good. Are you limited to 256? Yeah, the height limit for Minecraft is 256. I don't think we've had anyone like run out of space before. It's a lot of space. Now we're going to allowed to edit the limit. You can edit the limit, but you can't go above 256 without some external modifications. Let's see. So yeah, so now we're going to make the mob spawn on a timer in addition to the button presses. So to sort of make a timer, we're going to use this repeat block to repeat some code, do some looping here. So we're going to put this on the join event. We want this timer to start pretty much right after they join. And we're going to choose the repeat forever. So this is just going to be our forever block here. And then we want to have a delay on this timer. We don't just want it to spawn like a billion mobs at once. So we're going to use, oh, why are the pistons sticky? So for the repeat block, the brackets are sticky pistons instead of regular pistons. That's just to differentiate them from the conditional blocks. It's just a visual thing so that you can tell more easily. So now we're going to put a control block down, which allows us to do some things like have timers. So we can have a delay here, just a wait block. And we will make this wait for, let's have it spawn every, I just almost did this out of habit, but you can actually get number items if you don't want to go into the values menu, grab an item, type the number. If you want to do things a little bit faster, there's actually a shortcut where you type into chat this command /num and then the number you want, such as 5, and it will, oh, here, I should get rid of this one so it doesn't stack. It will give you that number. So that's a little shortcut that also exists for text items as well. So we're gonna take this 5, we're gonna put it in, and then we have, you can see this is another one of those tag items where we can change these things. We're gonna make the time unit seconds. By default, it is game ticks. In Minecraft, there are 20 ticks in a second, so each tick is 1/20th of a second. But we just want 5 seconds here, so we're gonna set it to seconds. So every 5 seconds, we wanna spawn a mob, right? And we have our fractions allowed. You can do decimals, yes. You can do decimals like 1.5, for example. That works. I don't know if you can do, yeah, no, you can't do fractions actually, but you can do numbers here. Decimals, excuse me. So now we're going to call the function here, like we did in the condition when we were looking at the button. So we will call our spawn zombie function once again, and as you can see, I can play the game, and even if I don't press the button, I am too smart for that. I know what that button does. It will start spawning mobs anyway, and they will continue to spawn every 5 seconds. And I can still press the button and spawn even more of them. So as you can see, I am doing very poorly at this game, and I've spawned way too many mobs. So I want to be able to, just in case, I want to be able to press a panic button and get rid of all of them. So we're going to make something else here that will act as our panic button. Let's make it a gold block, red wool block. Let's do that. Nice red panic button here. And now we're going to say when we right-click this button, all of the mobs will disappear. So once again, we have our right-click event, right? And we have our if they're looking at the button. We're going to add another one to detect if they're looking at the red wool. So we just add another one, not inside the pistons, but outside the pistons, because they can't be looking at both things at once. And we will go to, just like we did with the other one, location conditions, is looking at block. And then we will get a red wool here from the creative inventory, and we will put that in the chest. So now we have our panic button, and we want to delete all of the mobs. Now, to delete all of the mobs, we're going to have to select them all. And we do that with this select object block. And this will allow us to perform actions on many different entities at the same time. So we will place one of these, and we're going to right click, and you can see we have all sorts of options. We are going to choose select all mobs. So this will select all of the zombies in this case. We could also do select all entities. That would include entities that are not mobs, such as projectiles. This would also remove the fireballs. We don't need to do that. So we're going to just choose select all mobs. Now that we've done that, everything after this block will be applied to all of the mobs on the plot. So if we take an entity action and we put it after the select object block, we can set this to remove, and this will delete all of the entities. So let's see, I'm gonna spawn a bunch of them. Oh no, there's too many. I'm gonna right click this, and they all went away. And you can see another one spawns. I can just do this, and it goes away. So that's kind of how you would select everything. So to kind of wrap up this example, I'm going to go through creating a slightly more, a little bit of a more complicated use of select object. So we're going to give ourselves the ability to have almost like a force field. So we're going to make it that whenever we press the sneak button, so when we like sneak like this here, it's going to sort of like force push all of the mobs away from us, the ones that are close by at least. So we're going to first detect when we press that sneak button so that we can add this behavior. And then we're going to say, we're going to select all of the mobs that are close to us, like within maybe like 6 blocks. So we're going to place this select object to get all of those mobs. And we're going to select mobs by condition, which means we're going to target all of the mobs on the plot that meet a certain condition. So as you can see, we have some conditions here to choose from. We're going to choose the if entity block. As you can see, there's an if entity block here. You could place this, but this is sort of the if entity embedded in the select object. So we're going to click on this, and then we're going to say, okay, if the entity is near a location, then we'll do something. Then this will basically we'll select all of the mobs that are near a certain location. So to do this, we want to detect if they are within 6 blocks of the player's location. So how do we get the player's location? You'll remember from before that we used the game value to get an entity's location, and we can also use this to get a player's location. So we're going to take this, we're going to hold it, we're going to right click, we're going to once again go to locational values, and again click location, and again we'll pick default target here. If we wanted to get the entity's location instead of the player's location, we could use current selection because we have the mobs all selected, all the ones that are close to the player. But we want to launch them away from the player's location, so we will use the default target, which is the player, because them sneaking is what activated this event. So here we go. We have our location, and we will drop this in the chest. Nope, sorry. Or yeah, no, wait, that is correct. We are going to drop this in the chest. We're going to use it again later, so we're going to actually make a copy of it. Now we want to detect if they are within 6 blocks. So we will just put a number item, the number 6, in that chest. I'm going to once again use the shortcut to get the number 6. And now if they are within 6 blocks, then they will be launched away. Almost. They'll be selected, but we need to launch them away now. So we're going to use an entity action to do that. This is what is going to let us manipulate entity velocity. So we will go to the movement category, and we are going to choose the launch toward or away from location block. And so this will launch an entity toward a certain location, so you can pull them in, but you can also launch them away by just using a negative number for the launch power. So you'll put in a number that determines how powerful. The bigger the number, the more powerful the launch is. So we're going to use a negative number, which will launch them away. So we're going to put in our location once again, so that they're launched away from the player's location. And we are going to launch them away with a velocity of 100. So we're going to put the number -100 in the chest. Then we will also, I think, change this tag, the increment current velocity tag, to false. And this will make things a little bit smoother. This determines basically if the change should be added on to their current velocity, or if that should just become their new velocity. We want to kind of stop them in their tracks, so we're going to make it not increment the current velocity. So now, if we play the game and we spawn some mobs, you should see that if I press sneak and the mobs are close, it will launch them away. There we go. So if I spam the button, you can see that they are never able to get close because they keep getting launched away. And yeah, that I think is pretty much our game. So we have created a simple mob arena battle type of game here using DiamondFire and all of these code blocks. So yeah, I guess, you know, now's a good time if you have like any questions, you can write them in the chat, things like that. And then with the time that we have left here, because I think we have like 10 minutes, I'll also maybe just kind of break down how the sphere was made that I showed at the beginning of the workshop here. So I just used the game menu here to search for Hamchan. That's the name of the player who created this sphere demonstration. Is there going to be recording this available? Yes, there are recordings available of all of the sessions at SnapCon shortly after the conference. I think those will be made available. I'll try to get this shared on the SnapCon forum, because I know there's a forum for it as well, and there'll be a thread for this workshop. And so I'll try to update that thread, maybe put some links to the video when it becomes available, as well as maybe some other information on DiamondFire. So we're going to look at the code here for this plot. Let's first just go into play mode. And you can see here we are. Here is our rotating sphere of blocks that has been created. So typically you don't see spheres in Minecraft because it's a game about blocks. But one of the things that's very interesting on DiamondFire is how people can really take regular Minecraft objects and use them in really unexpected and wonderful ways. So how this actually kind of works is all of these are actually invisible armor stands. So there's an armor stand block in, are they floating sand? So you can have floating sand blocks, or you can have, they're called falling block entities. So blocks that have gravity will fall, and the falling blocks are entities, and you can make them typically only like sand and gravel fall in Minecraft, but on DiamondFire you could actually make them arbitrary blocks. And then let's see, is there something going on? People are saying voting is disabled. So I think what's happening at the moment actually is we hosted, I think just last week, like a 48-hour hackathon / game jam, where a bunch of people on the server had to build games in 48 hours. And then I believe the judging for that is actually happening right about now. So yeah, so you may see some kind of unusual activity on the server, but that is what that is. I could even show maybe if we have a little extra time some of the games that people were able to make in the 48-hour game jam because they are quite cool. So this sphere plot here, I'm going to use a little cheat here because I have some admin commands. So you can see that these are actually invisible armor stands that are sort of wearing these blocks, and that's how this is created. This dropped my frame rate a lot by looking at that. So let's go back to dev mode here, and we'll just look at, just real quickly before we go here, kind of how this was made. So the main thing here is that we are calling the draw sphere function, and that's where everything happens to make this sphere of blocks appear in the world. So let me find this function here, draw sphere. So the first thing that we're doing is you can tag entities with certain like metadata, and so all of the sphere armor stands that make up the sphere are tagged with, I think, the sphere point true tag. And so the first thing the draw sphere does is just make sure that any random lingering sphere points are removed so that we have a nice clean slate. Then we are going to do a repeat on sphere. So this is kind of an interesting thing. We have our repeat block. This is how you make loops of, pretty much all kinds. But one interesting function we actually have for this is a repeat on sphere, which is essentially just a two-dimensional for loop that will iterate over evenly spaced points on the surface of a sphere. And so you define sort of the parameters of the sphere here, the radius, and I think the number of points that you want to have in total, as well as the center, and then you provide a dynamic variable item that will be used for that location, which is this. I think if we open this up, you can see actually it's set based on all of these dynamic variables. So here are kind of the named variables that have been used to store all of this data. Then this is basically going to manipulate. The first thing I think that this does is shift the y coordinate of all of these points a little bit, which is to account for the armor stand's location and the location where the block will appear. The block sits on the head of the armor stand, so there's a slight offset there of 1.5, and so that's what this adjusts for. Then we use a game action to spawn an armor stand at the location, and it will be wearing a block on its head of sphere material using the sphere material variable. I believe the sphere material variable is set here to quartz block. You can see that if I were to change this to some other block, for example, like a pumpkin, and I replaced it here, if we play the game, you can see it's pumpkins now. So that's just kind of, very fast example of the use of variables here. So now we have, after we spawn the armor stands, we tag them all as part of the sphere, just so that we can remove them later safely. And then this block just adds a slight delay here while we're building the sphere. The heavier math ends up coming in when we want to make the sphere rotate. So this actually uses this process block, and I believe this is called here. And so this will actually select all of the sphere points. This is why we tagged them earlier. It'll take all the sphere points, and then it will do for every sphere point and forever. It's going to do a lot of different math to rotate the point around the sphere. I think I had at one point like a Khan Academy article that had all the equations for this. I'm not gonna go through all of the equations and math for this, but it sort of involves these sines and cosines. Oh, so the difference between process and function is that a process is kind of like a fork. So it sort of creates a new kind of thread. So a function will basically, this code will go here, it'll run the function, and it will wait until the function is completed before returning. Processes don't do that. Yeah, I think so. I'm pretty sure, yeah, that's similar. Here is kind of the math here. And so you can see this is using some sines and cosines. With number items, you can also actually use some math expressions as well as substituting in other variables through this percent syntax, which looks a little strange, but that is a way to do it here, just to sort of, you can do all of this with the blocks, but if you want to write expressions a little more quickly, that's a way to do it. And so yeah, this will basically just use the sines and cosines to rotate the point around the sphere by a small angle. And then it will teleport each entity to its new location at a slightly rotated point from where it was before. And so that is how you can see just sort of it's happening very fast, like once every 20th of a second. It is teleporting each one of these things just a little bit around the sphere. Is there a way to remix projects? Let me think. So one thing that you can do is you can take a line here of code, and if I hold the sneak button and I break this, it will give me this thing that is a code template. And so when I place this, and I can place this like anywhere, it will actually recreate the whole thing. And so this is sort of how you can do copy and pasting, but also these items can actually be shared pretty much anywhere. These are all just sort of basically a bunch of like compressed data written onto the NBT data of this Minecraft item. And so you can actually, using like saved toolbars and things like that, you can save these and use them wherever you want. There was actually someone who created a code vault where players can submit code templates for doing all sorts of cool things. And so people can grab, various templates from that plot. I think someone built, I think I have this saved to my toolbar, someone built like a music player that lets you play note block songs. And there's an entire like repository of people who made templates for playing just all different kinds of songs. So yeah, just a lot of pretty interesting stuff. So I think that kind of would be, to answer your question, how to sort of remix projects. Yeah, I think that is about all the time we have here. So yeah, I guess thank you all very much for coming to the workshop, and hopefully you're able to check out DiamondFire. I will leave some links on the SnapCon forum thread. Thank you.